Guys, welcome back to Beyond the Girl podcast. Today is going to be episode 2, and we are so excited that many of you gave us positive feedback regarding the first one. Again, as I previously said to many of you, it was something that we were a little bit skeptical of putting out there, but we wanted to go ahead and share our thoughts. And we are so glad that you guys liked it, and more to come.
Yeah. And I feel like so many people could relate to us, which is exactly what we wanted. So that was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to hear.
So obviously on today's topic, we want to be a little bit more focused on relationships. I know the first one was a little bit of everything because we were diving into a few topics that we are interested in or we can resonate with. So today we decided to focus on highly requested, to be honest, especially when we do Q&As. People are very curious about either how we handle relationships or experiences, or in general, what we've learned about relationships, whether it's like a significant other, it could be your family, your friends,
yeah,
and even relationships with yourself. So yeah, here goes episode 2 on relationships. We hope you guys enjoy it. So sit back and relax, and maybe if you're doing cardio, just enjoy. Oh yes, Britt is 1 week out from Toronto Pro Show.
Oh yes.
So thanks, Britt, for showing up at 1 week out.
It feels like I'm in off season. It's fine. Today is the first day that I did not want to eat my food because I'm eating so much, but I'm crossing my fingers. I think it's getting dropped tomorrow. So I'm happy about that. It's just
you don't hear that a lot.
I know.
You're like, at this point, some people are like, I'm waiting to be fed. And here you are waiting to.
I've been being fed since March. So but now it's increasing. I'm just over it. I don't even believe anything. Like but I could have a cookie, to be honest. But yeah, I just don't really care about food right now.
No, the victory is sweeter than any cookie right now.
Yeah.
So whatever. But anyway, so we believe in you. Obviously, you're gonna do great. You look great, and you work so hard that hey, you just gotta enjoy the process.
Relax.
1 week out.
Yeah.
Just the work is done, basically. That's like the typical saying. Work is done. It's time to have fun.
I know. Of course, I'm still in my head, but I feel like
normal.
Is.
Yeah, it's normal. Prep goggles.
I feel like also at the same time, I'm the most chill right now, most confident going into this one, just because I feel like, I've done everything I need to, and I'm in good hands. So I just feel prepared,
Yeah. Control what's controllable and then forget the rest. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want to go into?
Yeah. Well, when relationships, I feel like the most important thing in any type of relationship is trust. If you don't have trust, you can't grow in a relationship, at least out of my own experiences. Trust is what broke all of my past relationships. Not like I've been in that many. I know that the relationships I've had and you've had have been kind of different. So it's kind of nice that we can touch base on both types. And I've been in a couple relationships. But yeah, I feel like the thing that broke it is trust. Like if someone breaks your trust, if you accept them back for that thing that they did or whatever it was, it's almost like I've learned you can't bring it up later on, because if you've accepted somebody for that, you can't bring it up, because that's what causes more arguments and things to fall out of hand over and over again, So if you can't deal with that thing that you've already accepted, it just goes downhill.
Yes. So diving in, like obviously the trust situation is, I feel like trust is the main kind of pillar of a relationship, because if you break trust, then you lose respect for that person. And then you have no way of communicating with that person. So not only are you losing trust, you're losing respect, you're losing the ability to communicate with that person openly, because you no longer trust them. So I think once you break one, you can break more than one, especially when it comes to trust. And that comes again with significant others, or anyone for that matter, right? So
I feel like a main thing with trust, what I've experienced, is cheating is a huge thing. And I feel like it's more common now. And I don't know if that's just because of social media or what it is, and you can kind of get away with it easier. But my own experience is I tried to trust this person again, and I've learned from that, but I tried and I knew that I couldn't bring it up again, but if I needed to, I could talk about it, but I couldn't bash them for what they did when I already accepted what they did.
Mhm.
So the fact that I kept finding myself bringing it up over and over again and throwing it in their face, it was just ruining the relationship. So then I had to say, you know what, I can't deal with this. And I had to walk away, you
Yeah.
know?
I think
So,
we try to convince ourselves that we need to give it another chance.
oh, for sure.
And you
Because you always
either,
be wondering too, if you didn't give it a chance, what would it have been? And I feel like it's
yes.
good for you to experience that so you can realize and know for your next relationship what you want, what you don't want, what's a red flag, what's not, like you have to go through that. That's why when people come to me for advice, my friends, at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do. And that's what I
Yeah.
always say. Like, I understand their situation, but if they end up going back to the person or whatever, I just know in my head, I'm like, they need to go through this because they need to understand how it's going to be, and then
Mhm.
be able to grow from that situation. And that's what I feel like I've experienced a lot. I've been cheated on a lot. So I know what it's like to be in another's position when someone's cheated on them. Because also when you like somebody, you're blinded to so many things.
Mhm.
So seeing someone at that state, I know what that feels like. And you just have, well, you know me.
Yeah. 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 You just really, it's hard to let go because
Yeah.
especially if you're fully committed to that person and then that person cheats on you, then you obviously, I hate this part that we usually do. And I think it also stems from either childhood or something. But when you think everything is your fault, it's like everything, instead of thinking objectively, like this is not my fault, did I do something wrong, was there anything I did that led the person that I love to cheat on me? So I think those things come with the relationship with what you have with yourself. And then when you decide to either forgive or give it another go, I've learned that you either need to, the moment you accept to move forward with this person, regardless of what they did, it's like you either have to get over it
Mhm.
and work on doing better rather than bringing it up every time, because bringing it up will
Being
just
right.
cause more toxicity into the relationship. And you should have probably walked away the first time things happened.
Yeah. And I'm not saying if someone does something wrong that it could never work, like
Mhm.
it can, but you have to be on the same page and you have to communicate. That's the second thing, is communicating with one another. If
Yeah.
there is an issue that happens in any type of relationship and you don't communicate that with that person, you're going to hold on to it and you're going to bottle it all up inside of you, and then you're going to explode and it's just going to start a bigger fight than it even needs to be. So I feel like when there's issues in relationships, address them right away. Don't play the games back and forth with, oh no, I'm not upset. Like, I just hate
It's
that
like
shit.
the chase.
Like,
We
yeah,
we
it's like
seek it, the
you're
chase. It's like
seeking attention. Just tell me what the hell's wrong and we can sort it out right then and there.
it's like all cards on the table, and that is just good communication.
Yeah.
And
Like,
good
I'm such a
communication
straightforward person.
goes a long way,
Yeah.
100%. So, like for me, it was communication was one of the things that I needed to really get down, and still working on it, because especially communication skills, because you can communicate all you want, but if you don't know how to communicate, in the case of me wanting to communicate, but I do it in a defensive way or with attitude, then that can be taken the wrong way by your partner. So not only communicating and telling like your partner your thoughts, but how you approach the situation and your communication skills on how you do it is also going to create that healthy bond between you and your partner. And that is something that I've had to learn the hard way. And I think the with Nick, that was like a very, very like crucial point for me to grow, because unfortunately, I've always got my way. Okay. And it's bad to say. And then that was like something with my previous relationship. It was like, I don't want to say I was the alpha, because I feel like in a relationship, you should both be equals in it's like a, kind of like on a level, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I was more of like the dominant girl in my previous relationship before Nick. And I think that got really old real quick, because it was getting my way. And I got used to whatever I said, however I said things, it will work that way.
Oh yeah, your way.
Yeah. And then it
You
just
felt
like,
almost like you were the person in the relationship and it wasn't so much of a team anymore.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then that obviously like affected a lot of things in terms of how I developed my communication skills, or what I took for granted, or what I really appreciated. And that was like really challenged when I started dating Nick, because especially because we started as a long distance relationship. I think that was the main factor that I thought was my weak point, and was either going to make me grow into working a relationship with Nick, or like completely lose each other, because that is something that he had to work on as well. But it was just like qualities that we knew we were lacking, and we needed to come to terms and talk to each other and agree that those were areas that we were both kind of not doing our part on, and then commit to actually call each other out when things were going like the wrong direction, and it would lead to an argument. So
But I feel like it's good that you can acknowledge that, because it's very hard for people to be able to acknowledge that with themselves. And I feel like you and Nick, from what I've heard, are very good at communicating that aspect, that you guys know if there's disagreement or something, you guys know what is triggering from or what's causing that argument, you know? So
yeah.
you're able to fix it instead of just fighting back and forth, you know?
Well, because again, we've gone through so many rough patches where we both wanted to either find who was guilty, who started the arguments, and kind of go from there and hurt each other even more. So I think that is the point where you need to be like, okay, this is like this argument or whatever is going on a daily basis is either going to ruin your day, and you cannot keep going like that. Neither of you, it's not fair for you or nor your partner. So you need to come to terms, like, do we stay together or do we work together to make this work? And that is where communication comes in play. And especially with long distance relationships, communication and trust, knowing that you are with a person that respects you at the level of knowing that they're not going to do anything outside of whatever you guys have, is like so important. Because if you keep thinking in the back of your head, let's say I go out with my friends and then my partner doesn't trust what I'm doing, that they start thinking that I'm doing something behind their back. And then whenever I go out on social events, is going to lead to something that it's obviously going to disrespect your partner. And living in like with anxiety that your partner is not going to be faithful to you is probably one of the worst things that you can do or keep holding on to. So I think it's just an agreement between the two of you, where you have to be like, do you trust me? Do you not trust? Do you want to move forward with this? Then I'm all in. Are you all in or not? So it's kind of like not ultimate. I don't want to say ultimatums, because ultimatum sounds really kind of like toxic, but it's just like, be clear. That's all.
If that person, if you don't give someone a reason to not trust you, that's where I see a lot of things happening in relationships, where that person's never given them any reason for them not to trust them, you know, and yet they're still worrying. And
but like would you feel like, if you've been cheated on, I've been cheated on, and obviously that's going to cause like a root problem within you, because now you're going to be like a little bit skeptical about everyone you're with. I want to say everyone, because I think it's also how they treat you or what you guys have. But do you feel that your past relationships have created some sort of trust issues when you talk to someone new?
yes, in the sense where I do struggle with that a little bit. Like somebody that I previously, like most recently talked to, I was almost like, okay, you have to earn my trust instead of trusting you right off the bat. But also when he would go out and do things, there was no reason for me to not trust him, because he was kind of showing me that, you know, he was committed to me. Say, at that time.
Yeah.
But so I couldn't ever get mad when he went out. Like, I have never been that girl. I can honestly confidently say this. I have never looked at my exes, who they've followed, what girls' photos they've liked. I sent back like this previous guy photos of cute girls online. I'm like, oh my God, her ass is amazing. Like, I don't get affected by that, because I I'm just kind of like, if you want to go fuck around, you're going to eventually anyway.
Mhm.
So why am I going to hold you back from going and hanging out with your friends? Because if I hold you back, it's going to cause a fight between us when really you could actually just be doing nothing, you know?
And I
So
think that also shows insecurity on your part. And that also can get old and
yeah, if
push
you,
away your partner.
yeah, when I see all those TikToks and stuff about, oh, when your man goes out, like, I don't understand it. He's just trying to have a good time with his guys. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
that's why though, in my previous relationships, some of their reasonings as to why they've cheated is because I'm too chill. But I'm just chill with them, hanging out with their buddies, and always leads to something else. That's
Mhm.
why I always get cheated on. So, but I just know that if I don't let them do it, they're gonna do it anyway, or it's gonna
Yeah.
give them wanting more of a reason to do it because I'm holding them back, and it's toxic.
Again,
In
I
my
just
opinion,
think
like,
the possession, it's just not a healthy from the
yeah,
get-go. It's just not a healthy behavior towards your partner. Not only because it's suffocating them, but it's suffocating you at the end. It's just creating a stress that you don't need for yourself.
yeah,
And you're sometimes, most of the time, you're creating actual like ghosts where there's no ghost. And then now you have that creating that little picture that they're actually doing something wrong. And again, you're just ruining your own good time, and then you're ruining like a chance to have a relationship with someone. So like you're so chill, but again, I think we live in a time where you are expected to be a jealous person and
yeah.
controlling, and that makes you, I don't know, it gives you some sort of power of the other over the other person, but in my opinion it's suffocating and toxic.
Yeah. Well, because if I talk to somebody and they want to do something, like, I am confident with myself. I know what I can offer in a relationship. If you don't want that, that is your loss. Like, I know that I could be great to you. And if you're not going to be that back, then I don't want you in my life anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
And
just like,
honestly, that's a strong mentality. Why? Because I think you just have such a good relationship with yourself where
yes.
you have established what you want, what you don't want, what you offer, and how you feel about yourself. Like
Well,
as a
that's,
whole, I think you just like know exactly who you are,
yeah.
and it doesn't make you insecure. And that's like such a good thing to even like go off of, like now that we're talking about this, because
Mhm.
I think if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you're not going to have a good relationship with anyone else.
It's not fair to start a relationship if you're not okay with yourself. You know what I mean? Because you need to learn how to be okay by yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the last person I dated was a while ago. And I just feel like I was better by myself right away. And I just grew so much on my own. And it's not necessarily I want a relationship either right now. It's more so like if something comes my way, great. But if something doesn't, like, I'm okay by myself. Like, I feel like I'm growing in so many different ways where I also just fulfill my day with things that I like to do as well. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? I feel like that allowed me to grow. It's like when I have nothing to do, okay, how can I do better with my online clients? I'm doing this macro book with my friend, like just little things that I want to do. I'm just
Mhm.
focusing on that and putting time and energy into that and just doing things for myself too. Like, I go for walks by myself. I go sit at coffee shops by myself. Like, you know what I mean? I just think to myself, where do I want to be in my life? Like, you know what I mean? Just things like that and just growing with myself. I just feel like I've become and am becoming somebody that I like.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly where most girls that are in relationships or that seek for a relationship are kind of lacking, because
Mm.
I did find that especially if you are not fulfilled with yourself. I'm not fulfilled in many ways, and I'm sure you aren't,
Yeah,
like,
there's
because we're
multiple ways
not where
to
we want to
become
be.
there.
There's
Yeah,
always room for more.
yeah,
But when
exactly.
you rely on someone else to like fulfill that void, either with happiness, love, confidence that you need, like them to tell you every single day that you're beautiful because you don't feel beautiful enough.
Yeah.
And if they don't tell you, then you just feel like bad by yourself. So I think that's where the root of the problem is, when you go into a relationship with those voids and expectations that need to be filled, then you're setting yourself up for possibly just projecting those insecurities onto your partner, and then that's completely going to take things the wrong way. Like it's not going to either make you grow or make you grow as a couple or make him any better than you are.
Yeah.
And I know the right person for you will bring the best in you, but they can also bring the worst in you. And I think that I found that out with Nick. He can bring the best in me, and so can I, but I can also bring the worst in him. Because why? Because we're so invested in each other. We created such a strong bond that we're also working on that individual kind of relationship with ourselves, that it sometimes creates like, you're like, okay, at what point, what's the borderline, like where we depend on each other and now we have to like create that routine for ourselves if the one is not here. For example, when he went to Canada, obviously I'm in a new element and we've been together for so long, and during his preps, obviously you know how it is, you become their backbone, like you're there for them, you pick up like either like around the house just because they don't have the extra energy. And it just becomes such a routine with that person that when he left, I was like, well, what am I doing now to distract myself? So it's just like knowing that you need to have that routine with yourself as well, even when you depend on, not depend, I don't want to say coexist with your partner on a daily basis, like we are.
Well, in your situation, it's very common for you to feel that way, especially since your daily routine is with him. So feeling that when he's gone is not abnormal. It doesn't mean that you're not okay with yourself. You just were thrown off and you're like, what is my routine right now?
But I think it's just like a premise of that can lead to either you doubting what he's doing over there because you don't have your own routine. So you have too much time in your head to create thoughts like, yes. So I think that you need to be aware of and catch yourself and completely like get rid of it. Either like put a stop to it and then start doing things that make you happy. And then create your own little world in case the other person is no longer there, whether that person travels, whether that person is like no longer in your life. It's like you need to have your own back kind of thing, right?
Well, and I want to mention in the previous person I was talking to, like, I feel like a lot of girls experience this where, and I've seen it so much, you know, and I caught it right away. Not right away, but so the previous person I was talking
Wait, sorry to interrupt. Is that Russ snoring?
I don't think so. He's by my feet. No, he's not sleeping.
I hear like a heavy breathing.
It's probably me. I don't know.
Wait. Oh my God, it's Nick.
Laura? Oh, he's snoring.
Because this thing, it cancels out the background sound, but it's like picking it up. I don't know if they're gonna hear it. Probably won't hear it, but that's what I'm like. He's snoring.
That is Russ snoring. It's your boyfriend.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. It was really but then it's my freaking.
No, that's okay. The previous person I was talking to, so I wasn't interested in talking to anybody, you know what I mean? And I was like, you know what, if someone comes my way, whatever. So the person came my way, and what initially attracted me to him was because he wasn't a bodybuilder, and he didn't say anything about my tits the first time he met me. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I could get along with this type of person because he's not in the same routine as I am, but we had so much to talk about because I looked outside of my life and what he was doing and what he valued. And I feel like I connected with him that way because we had so much to talk about all the time, you know, because his values and his goals in life are very different from mine. So I'm like, this could be a great thing or this could be a negative thing. And I always told him, you know, when I start prep, my routine's gonna be very different. It's similar now, like I was still eating good and like, but I was going out with him a lot, you know, drinking on the weekends, stuff like that. And when I started prep, you know, my routine became very different. He went away or whatever, but I could just tell that the connection wasn't there as much because we weren't spending a lot of time together and like going out. And I don't think that he fully understood how my prep was going to be, you know. So then I quickly realized, I think I actually do have to be with someone has the same interests as me. And I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. But that kind of is what made that go downhill. But what I wanted to mention in that is, I was talking to this person for 6 months and I wanted to be in a relationship. And if you want to be in a relationship and you really like somebody, like when I like somebody, I really like that person. I don't know why people say, let's move really slow. Why are you moving slow? If you guys are both really connected, and I mean, maybe don't date each other the first day you guys meet, but I mean, if you're really connected and you really like each other, what's the issue with moving too fast? Like that's something that I never really understood. Like, what do you mean slow it down? Like,
Yeah.
we just won't hang out as much, but those feelings are still there. So I mean, like, if we really like each other, why don't we just go for it? Like I feel like being like, if you go in it too fast, where you feel like you're changing your schedule too fast, that might be an issue where like you're working around their schedule to hang out with them.
Yeah, you're pushing your life to the side too much.
Yeah,
There's
that's
no
where
balance.
like too fast, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But catching feelings for someone too fast, I don't really know why that's such an issue, So, but I want to point this out. If you are talking to somebody for months on end and you want to be in a relationship and they do not want to, I'm telling you right now, there's no excuse you can give if you've been talking to this person for 6 months, whether it's, oh, like, I'm working on myself right now, I don't want a relationship. Those are all red flags to me. And I quickly learned that.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Don't
I
waste
was
your time.
like waiting for this person to ask me out. And I'm like, why the fuck am I waiting
Yeah.
for that person to ask me out? If I have shown everything and like when I really like somebody, I go all in, like I just tell them how I'm feeling and
Mm-hmm.
just go off of that. I'm not like too obsessive, but I just like their company and I'm trying to show them that, I have interest in that person.
Yeah.
And they're showing it back. Everything's great. And at the end of the day, they still don't want to show you on social media. They don't want to like your photos in case their friends see it. They don't want to,
Red
do
flags.
red flags. Like, and
You
I
either
believe
know or
some
you
of this
don't.
stuff. I believe some of this stuff.
I
Like,
literally
don't tell
when
me you can't like my photos online because you don't want anyone to know that we're talking because you like your life private, but you post every other girl on social media.
Okay, so this
What
is the
is
thing.
that?
Yeah, that there's a
And
difference.
I was like, okay, he's just trying to keep us like low key because
When you told me that, I was like, okay, this is why. And I even told you, I'm like, wait, why are you waiting
by it?
to
You're blind
decide?
by it. If you like somebody, you're blind by it sometimes.
Yeah, but I literally wanted to slap you because I was like, how do you not see?
I knew.
Yeah, but you just knew, but you just decided, okay, I'm still gonna put myself through this.
Yeah.
So
I knew too. If I got hurt, it was my fucking fault. I knew.
well, yeah, because you knew and then you still follow through. But honestly, there's a huge difference with this. Obviously, how it was with me. And this is the thing. I think nowadays people are like, let's go slow because you put a timeline to everything. For example, when I finished like my whole 10-year relationship, I basically moved on. In 3 months, I started to talk and like I was with Nick. But this is the thing. Some people were like, whoa, were you cheating on your ex with Nick, or were you talking to Nick before you broke up with him? And it's like, no, why do people think that I was, because I decided to move on too fast? It's like you put a time frame to moving on, but what people forget to realize is sometimes, and this, in my case, that is just something that again roots from my childhood, where I was obviously so young, expected to take on a lot of responsibilities after my dad passed away. So everything that happened or went wrong was my fault, right? So in my relationship growing up, what I wanted to do is try my best to make it work. And I think it was like about 9 months before I broke up with him, I realized that I was checked out. Okay.
Yeah,
but then I thought to myself, okay, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe there's something I'm not doing. Maybe there's something I can do better because he was like the perfect guy. And you know how many times I was like, you're so lucky. People were like, you're so lucky. He like loves you. It's all about you. You mean the world to him and all this stuff. And to me, it was like, yeah, you guys are right. Like there was nothing wrong with him, but I was checked out 9 months before I broke up with him. but I wanted to try my best, right? And I tried, and it was simply, I could not do it anymore.
And
And then
you can't force a
no,
relationship that's not working.
and this is where people don't know like the whole story. It's like I moved on in 3 months because I was already moved on a while ago. I just made sure that I didn't do anything behind his back or anything while I was still with him. But then once I was free, I was free. It didn't mean that I needed to wait like a year to mourn my breakup. It's like, here's where people go wrong. And it's like, if you take it slow, there's where you put too much thought into things.
Yes.
And I think so many people miss out on amazing opportunities, either with like people or in general in life, because you overthink. You try to like fall into all these like requirements that like society tells you to do, like have kids a certain age, or you should be having a house at this time, and you should wait this amount of time because you're not over your breakup, or you should do this because that's the amount of time that you should wait to like someone or to feel something for someone. It's like, it needs to end, because at the end of the day, it's taking away the actual substance of what people can bring into your life, because you're just putting a barrier. And I'm not saying like go full on, like open yourself up and be vulnerable to everyone you meet. I'm just saying, if it feels right, just go with your gut, because at the end of the day, that has worked in my favor most of the time. And if I do end up either like making the wrong decision, I always learn something new, because that will take me a different route that I'm meant to be taken that way, right? But I didn't just stop myself because society tells me, no, you need like at least 6 months to start talking to someone new, because you're going to look bad if you move on faster than that, And I think that
saying to you too, I was like, if you're gonna go, just do it. Because if you don't, you're gonna regret it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
And he was like, I was scared
and
because I was scared to be judged, because that was the only guy that everyone ever saw me with. Like, I was with him for 10 years. And he was not very involved in my world. Like, he was totally like, he liked
You guys
MMA.
met very, very young, and you grew so much
Yeah.
From
We
that,
change. And
and
some people work out, some don't.
Yeah,
But we
exactly.
grew apart because our interests started to like just be like go different ways. And he was okay. And I hope he's like with someone that does like fit into his life, and they both fit into each other's life. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to come to the realization that they just don't enjoy the same things that you enjoy. And there's where you're like, I need to find that perfect spot where it's like, am I with someone like obviously fitness industry, or do you go with someone outside, because there's so much that you can discover with that person, because they're totally different than you. But also, where do you guys relate? Where do you guys spend time together? Where do you guys share like that joy of achieving things together, because you are so involved in the same element, right?
Well, there was little things like, getting up to my cardio. I don't think you really understood. The guy I was talking to that didn't do any of that. And then there was like, when I would eat, I'm like, he's gonna think I'm weird, you know what I mean? But I also feel like I taught him a lot, because he went to the gym and stuff. But I feel like I taught him a lot, like about nutrition and things like that, which he got that. So I kind of helped him with that. And he also helps me to think outside the box and
like business wise.
Yeah, exactly. And you were talking about like how your childhood kind of brought you up, of how you respond in relationships. And with me, I guess in my childhood was my dad always just like taught me to never depend on someone else and always be independent and never change for somebody else. And he was so on top of me for that without me really realizing it. Because I've seen people in my family, I've just have been taught to be independent because I've seen people get used in many ways and, financially, and it disgusts me. And this person that I was previously talking to, he made good money and everything like that. And I got questioned by some of his friends or some people that I knew that just saw him and saw, if he had things or whatever, like, oh, are you talking to him because of this? And it's honestly disgusting to me when people say that, because I would just never in my life, like, I feel very awkward when someone pays for me for something. And I have to that's something I have to learn, because sometimes a guy genuinely just wants to, take you out for dinner or something like that. And I feel very awkward and I feel like very uneasy about it. And it's, it's actually just a nice thing that they're wanting to do. And sometimes I'll respond being like, no, like, don't do that. And it will offend them,
Yeah.
and I have to just accept it and just be like, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Because when I yell at that person for paying for me for something or, like anything like that, they almost get offended and they're like, can you not just say thank you? That's something that I have to work on, but I've always just been taught to just like be independent. Don't let anybody pay some ridiculous thing for you or like whatever, you know what I mean? And like support yourself. So when people say to me like, oh, why does he have a lot of money? Or when I hear people saying, I'm going out with this guy and he has so much money, it makes me cringe because I've seen just experiences in my family with that happening. And it just makes me want to yell at that person. And some of them have been my friends before, like, oh, I went out with this guy and he had so much money. It's like, why is it the first thing that you say? Money. I would rather, I've always said this, I would rather live in a shack with the love of my life than live in a mansion with someone I kind of like. Like love is everything in a relationship,
If you say that to guys nowadays, they'll be like, you're full of shit. But like,
the person I talked to, he was so surprised when I wouldn't just let him pay for me. It's like, okay, if he took me out to a dinner that costs $800 or $1,000 and he took me out, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not getting this because this is not my decision. I'm not going to spend $1,000.
Yeah, he brought you there.
That okay. But every single time when I used to work, I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings as a host, my first job. And I one time saw this girl come in. She's picking up takeout. She goes like this to her boyfriend in the back. She's paying and he's like all scavenging through his wallet. And I'm like, oh my God, did she actually do this? She was just like, to the total, she's like, or when
don't even ask, just like automatically, like, what is that, an ATM? Like that's toxic because
then when I moved as a server, sometimes when I put the bill in the center of the table, the girl would look at me and be like, and I'm like, okay, well, just because you have a vagina, why do you think that you can't pay for it? I feel like
literally,
that's how I look at it. Just because you're male or female, why does
don't expect
who's paying for what? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I actually don't understand it. Like, why do you not want to make the guy feel good by going out and paying for him? Like, doesn't that bring you satisfaction? It brings me satisfaction. It's just like, oh, I'm doing something nice and they appreciate it, So when I would pay for stuff in my previous relationships, all of them will say it, they're very thankful for it. And when they pay for me, I always said thank you. I always appreciate it. If I got home, I would send them a text being like, hey, thanks so much for dinner. Like, show that you appreciate when someone does something nice for you, those little gestures and stuff, because those little gestures go a long way. And also going to little gestures and stuff, not just money based, but little things that I try to do to show like affection by, like bringing them their favorite drink when I see them, or like,
it just shows that you pay attention to them.
Or like gifts and stuff. Whenever I give someone gifts, whether it's Christmas, their birthday, I always just think about little things that, they saw online that they're like, oh, don't you love this? And then we'll like put their phone back to me and I'll like keep that in mind. So when I give it to them,
it's like thoughtful,
oh, it's so meaningful. Like you thought about that. You know what I mean? Like little,
like the time you were so excited when I gave you an oatmeal bowl with like an oatmeal.
I still I use it every day. And I swear to God, I think of it all the time. Maria at my show, I just kept sending her all these videos of oatmeal. If I open my screen, it's probably gonna be all oatmeal on
your Explore.
Yeah, on my Explore. Well, it's basically all treats, but a lot of it's oatmeal. Just things I want to make off season. But anyway, so at my show, I would always send her oatmeal videos and whatever, and I need the perfect bowl with like my spoons because I collect spoons. Just
perfect depth.
Yeah, exactly. Like has to be a perfect bowl. Like, I don't know if my OCD is triggered by that or what it is, but, and I have a collection of spoons. Anyway, so she got me the most perfect oatmeal bowl I've ever seen in my life. And she got me oatmeal and what else? Did you get me a spoon with it?
Yeah, I got you a spoon. Yeah. It had like something.
Was it one of the ones on it? Yeah, because I have a bunch, so I don't know which one.
It had like something written on it.
Like a friend's thing or whatever.
Yeah. But like I searched for that bowl because I remember you once talking about it and I thought, she's freaking crazy. Because I was like, you are going into so many specifics. And then those are the things that are the the things that you will remember about that person, that you actually care for them as a person, not only because they buy you things or because they, who knows, like they bought you a purse. Like that's not what you're gonna remember. You're gonna remember like if he actually remember your size on a shoe, or maybe who knows.
Yeah, or he
Like
wrote
I'm
me a
just
card and wrote a really nice thing, you know what I mean?
yeah, and I just
Those little
gave you
things.
something that you enjoy so much that it caused such a shock when I gave it to you, and you're like, this is exactly what I was talking about, because I paid so
Yeah.
much attention to the descriptions of your crazy idea of having this specific bowl for your oatmeal. And I was just like, okay. So then I was like online, I was like searching online, and then I went to like HomeSense, and then Walmart had it. And then I remember they had like only one of them. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is meant to be. And then I was like, and then I just put that little package. It was like budget friendly too, because I remember
Mhm.
spending so much, and I
So
was
much on
single at
that.
that point.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, this is like in a relationship, because I was in a relationship for so long. It was not expected that the man was like the full provider of things. And I was raised with a mom that she was on her own basically since my dad died. And then obviously there were like a few marriages, but she always was the businesswoman, independent. And if she had to start from scratch, she will not care. She's like, love and money is something I have in abundance, even if she didn't have that much. Like even if you were like struggling at that point, she would
Yeah.
always like pick it back up and just completely make sure that we never had like anything, we'll never miss out on a toy or anything like that growing up. So I think I learned that from my mother.
Yeah, you really
To
like that. Like you're not scared of failure ever. You know what
no,
I mean?
I'm not
Ever.
scared to lose it all either.
No,
And
I've
because at
noticed
the end
that
of the
with you, you know,
day,
like, yeah,
yeah, I
a lot of
hate
things
when
have worked
people
out for me.
holding
So,
on to material things. And that is, I think that is something that I've learned. It's just like you need to earn things. You need to not expect them. And I think that's what most people have nowadays. It's like, you're the man, I expect you to pay for everything. And it's
yeah,
not like that.
exactly.
It's like you are your person before that person came along. So why just completely take that away and rely on that someone, or expect them, put that pressure on them? And I just think it's not fair to
No,
you or the person. So I think it's just like the wrong mentality. There, if you want me to be honest, and I'll say it right now, it's like I think we have such a weak generation coming up because
mhm,
everyone's sensitive, everyone's like either too sensitive to like do this, or they're scared of failure, or you're scared of risk, or to lose it all, because everyone is so material driven right now. And I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if it's like the times that we live in, but I just think people hold on to things, to material things way too much. And it just, you're missing out on the whole substance of being with someone or developing relationships with
yeah.
anyone
Like
in general.
when I've been in love before, and even though I'm young, I can say I have, and I love to love. If I find somebody that I love, like nothing else matters. You know what I mean?
Okay, hold on. How do you know you're in love?
I just know, just looking back, I know that feeling. I just know. And I feel like there's no way to describe it. And I also know,
So why do you think it didn't work?
the cheating.
Okay, so the other person wasn't in love.
Yes.
Because I
And
don't think you're in love and you do something like that to a person you're in love with.
yes. And I think I also realized by reflecting on, because I was basically like in two relationships in my life, I guess you could say. And I don't care if I was in high school for one of them, I
Mhm.
felt the way that I did. And
I love that confidence. You're like, I
no,
did.
yeah,
I
I was,
was in love. No one's
yeah,
questioning that.
I was 17 and I don't even care. Like that was how many years ago? I don't care. I was. And I think I realized too, by being in a relationship after that one, it made me realize that I actually was in love with that previous person, because I feel like I loved the person afterwards that I was with, but
Mhm.
reflecting on the two relationships, I felt very different. And that's okay. And if some people might hear this and be like, oh, like you were in love and that happened to you, whatever. But no, I take every relationship that I was in and I appreciate everything that they gave me, everything that they taught me. I was cheated on multiple times by a couple different people, not
Mhm.
my second one, but my high school first one. That's not even whatever. Um, but
They don't
yeah,
even know what they want at that age, I feel.
but
Like,
you know what's funny is that I am very civil. And I actually talked to my most recent ex, like
Mhm.
sometimes, or we DM each other, whatever. And I tried to help him get a girl last week, actually. Like, we are so good. We were dating for 3 years and we're so on good terms. Like, we know that we fell out of love with each other. There was nothing really like, I did love him, but I didn't feel as in love with him as
Well,
I
if you
thought
guys can
I
stay
felt.
friends, then you know that
Yeah.
it was
And
just, you obviously gonna care for that person. It's just human
I'll
nature.
always care for every single person that I used to talk to. I don't care really what they did to me. I wish no harm on anyone. I
Yeah.
appreciate, and with that person, the other person I was saying about, like, I appreciate he's doing well. He's in a relationship. Like, I'm happy for him. Before, I kind of went through a phase that I felt like how I felt towards him in the past. I was almost upset about it because I was like, I was in a relationship afterwards for 3 years and I didn't really feel that way. And I got
Yeah.
really upset. And I think that I told myself that I missed that person, when I then realized I just missed how I felt when I was
Mhm.
with him. And I didn't miss him because it was years ago. We're such different people now. He's doing amazing. He has a girlfriend. They're cute. Like, you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
I am so happy for him. And I think that also in that relationship, when I got out of that one, that's when I started competing, and he kind of showed me that. So it was almost like there was like an attachment of like all these feelings involved, and how I got into what I love to do now. It was like, oh, it was because of him. And like, I was so confused by how I was feeling. And then I realized it wasn't because I was still in love with him. It was just because he gave me so much in that relationship that
You miss the feeling
yeah. And
of
I know
feeling
that
that
I'll
way.
find that again. It just wasn't him. Let's say me and this person got back together, which no, we're so different people now that it probably wouldn't even be the same. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just like in that moment, how I felt. I reflected on it later and I got very emotional about it, but now I'm good. And I realized that it was just the feeling that I used to feel. And I almost felt guilty in my next relationship because that was kind of one of the reasons that made me push to end it, because wasn't the
You were
same.
seeking for something
Yeah,
that,
and I
yeah.
didn't want to drag on a relationship that
Mhm.
that I was in afterwards and hurt this person more by me thinking that I was in love with someone else.
And that is the void that I'm saying, like you missed that, and then you expected this person to fill that void, and then it wasn't going to
Yeah.
make you happy because there's no way that
And
that
don't get
person
me
is going to
wrong,
replicate it.
but that next person, he gave me a lot, and I feel like he made me like, that was when I matured a lot, was with him. He was a few years older than me. And I feel like, he had his own business, and he's actually the one that was like, you should reach out to HG Muscle. Like, I feel like you should join them. And I'm like, no, like, I don't know what that is, whatever. And he's actually so many reasons as to why, like, I started HG Muscle, I started coaching, he's like, he saw all this in me that I was really passionate about. And he's just like, you should do something with it. Like, do this, do that. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah,
pushed,
take the first step.
yeah, he really pushed me, and like, he believed in me to do it.
Mhm.
So those are so many things that I appreciate about the relationship. I feel like that's why him and I are like so close now. Cause like, I don't know, we just, yeah, like, we're good, but I don't have feelings for him like that anymore.
Yeah, that's like literally like my ex is like,
Yeah.
I went to school to become a
Guy.
doctor, got
Hmm.
accepted to nursing school, and then I was like, I don't think this is my calling, and I was so scared because I never quit anything. And for me to be like, look, this is not it. I'm not going to follow through with the whole like nursing application.
Hmm.
Um, like I got accepted and everything to
Yeah.
University of Toronto. So even when I called to decline my admission, which was 2 days before actually like school started, that's like right before COVID started.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, sorry, like I think this is like I'm having such a life crisis, and I think this is not what I want to do. If you guys can give it to someone on the wait list. She was so upset. She's like, do you realize that this is a very it's an honor to get a spot in this and obviously in this program, because it was 2 years and it was very competitive, like the applications. um but then that took me into a point where it's like, am I making the wrong decision? Like, this is such a highly sought after, why am I not doing this? Like, I
Yeah, it's
achieved this, why
hard
am I
when
not following
you
through?
that.
So
Yeah.
he was the one who said, if you don't feel passionate about this, don't do it. And
Yeah.
he said, go chase your dreams, go compete, go become a coach, do whatever you want. And then he's like, if you ever need help, like financially, he's like, I'll pick it up for us. Because when he was in school too for paramedic, I was the one working 3 jobs to make sure that we had enough, because he had to do ambulance ride outs, and then he couldn't work at all. Right. So that's a partnership. I feel like you pick up whenever the other one's lacking, right?
Yeah.
And he was the one who pushed me. And so all these things in me that you don't see, because again, we're so hard on ourselves that we're like, should I really go with this? Should I go the safe way? Should I go the dangerous way?
Yeah.
And hey, people come into our lives for a reason. And I highly believe that, after obviously being with that person for 10 years. And look at me now, like I never in my life thought that I would be here where I'm at, I'm with, because again, I always said I'm never going to date a bodybuilder. But once I became a competitor myself, and then again, I started getting drawn to maybe that lifestyle. But then again, I was like, you will think I'll start small. No, I went for the biggest dude out there. And yeah, life is freaking crazy. And that was one thing. I went with my gut. I was not scared to take risks. I was careful. I was cautious, but I did not completely like stop myself from doing it or told myself you cannot do that. I was just cautious and also smart about the things that I was going to do, because at the end of the day, you can't just like do dumb things, because you will have repercussions. But sometimes you make decisions out of emotion, and that's something that I try not to do. And I think that was holding me back a little bit in terms of fear. But I think highly believe people come into our lives for a reason. And again, my ex came for a reason into my life. I did so many things for him too. And he grew as a person, like many ways that even his parents were like very grateful for me being in his life. So I just think things just happen for a reason, and you need to let them happen sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that I am the perfect person in a relationship by saying like how I've been treated like shit in the past, like as if I was perfect. Because to be honest, like when I really like somebody, I'll put time and effort into it, but sometimes I lack that. And I sometimes can be very selfish. And I think that comes with me prepping. Like when I'm prepping, especially when I'm prepping, like I cannot spend more than sometimes, maybe I can see that person twice a week, but any more than that's too much for me. I feel like I am not putting enough time into myself, you know, and I feel like that's also why I'm not like, I want a relationship or anything, because yes, I am okay with myself, but also because I just genuinely like my time alone. I feel like I have so many things that I want to do just on my own and feel more stable in my life before being with somebody. But it doesn't make me think that if I meet someone, I shouldn't start talking to someone. It's not like I'm avoiding it. You know what I mean?
I just
But
think it
I
happens
have a really
naturally.
short time span with people sometimes. I really like them. Like sometimes when someone would leave my house, be like, you know, like when I'm talking to
You're like,
someone,
oh my God, thank God.
I'm like, oh, I can just go cook my meal and sit on the couch and look at a wall. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but sometimes I just can't, or be with my dog, you know, like I like that, you
I
know,
just think
I
you
like my
haven't found
time.
the right person, because
Yeah.
if I were to tell it to Nick, like, I don't want to talk, just give me the silent treatment, or vice versa, when he's prepping, I know exactly what's going on through his mind. And I'm like, he doesn't want to hug. He doesn't want to kiss. He doesn't want to
Yeah.
be like, he doesn't want to feel my breath on
I'm
him.
prepping right now, so I'm feeling this way. But even when I wasn't prepping, like I just don't care that much
Some
to
people just, hey,
relationship.
I
And
just
then
think,
sometimes I think to myself, is there something wrong with me? But I actually
no,
think it's just when I like the last person I was talking to, I really, really, really liked him. And I put time into it because I really liked him. And it
and
was
he
no
was so out
effort.
of your lifestyle too.
So out of my
So
lifestyle.
that's how I knew that you liked him, because I'm like, she's literally staying up until this time to go be with him
I know.
and kind of just be in his element.
Going so out of my way to
But
do.
then but when I saw that he wasn't getting involved in your element, then I was like, this is not the
Well,
one.
that was the thing, is I did a lot of gestures and I did things. This is the whole like money thing that I want to talk about too. Yes, he would pay for dinners. Yes, he would, you know, he bought me a nice Christmas present. Yes, you know what I mean? But it's the actions that were lacking. And I just want to explain some examples because I feel like a lot of girls have been through what I went through. And,
Mhm.
when someone ghosts you, like this person ghosted me. They left on vacation, they ghosted me. That's what happened. And but he hadn't asked me out yet before. I was talking to him about 6 months and he left and he ghosted me. And to me, that was like, okay, when someone says I am busy, genuinely, he was always busy and he had a lot of business things going on. I get that. I respect that time. But listen, I'm busy too. This is during my time, my very hard time during prep. I was training clients, online clients. I just started stuff at HD, working with Team HD. You know what I
You were
mean? Like,
working in Toronto too. Like, that's
yeah.
not easy.
Or yeah, no, I think I just quit. But
But you were like all
regardless,
over the place. Like you were
oh
doing so
yeah,
many things at once.
my
I
mind
remember.
was not there. And like I was picking up so many clients in person training and I was busy myself. So when someone says to you, oh, I'm just really busy, I'm really behind on work.
No,
Okay, well, I am too, but I have 15 minutes out of my day to talk to you. Don't ghost me for a week. You know what
it's
I
like
mean?
when you start a fitness journey, you're like, I don't have time. You make
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
if
you
you
make
want
time for
something.
somebody. And that's what I want to explain is if someone likes you, they're going to put in the time for it. If they, are not willing to put in that time, then you just
You're not
automatically know
relevant.
they don't have that much interest for you anyways.
Mm-mm.
You're just wasting your time. Like that's the thing is I absolutely hate when people waste my time. Like, do not waste my time. That's
No.
what pisses me off. I don't like the games back and forth. I hate that shit. It's like, tell me what you want. Cause I'm so upfront. When I start liking the person, I'm like, yeah, I like you. And they're like, and some people are thrown off guard. It's just like, okay, well,
Yeah,
I'm just
there's
putting
it's
it out
like,
there
whoa.
because if you want to ask me out or you want to whatever. Another thing too is,
That can be intimidating for some people. That's why. Because they're
yeah,
like not confident enough in themselves. But
yeah. Well, another thing is too that I feel like I've struggled with in relationships, and I feel like women can relate to this. When someone tries to hide you,
yeah.
in my previous relationship, I felt like hidden, and in this relationship, I felt very hidden. When someone is trying to hide you, doesn't want anyone to know that you guys are talking, or you don't want you delete their comments that they post on your Instagram post, or you don't want them in their TikTok live because they don't want their followers to see because they're going to lose followers or anything like that. Like that to me is just ridiculous. Like that makes you feel like shit about yourself. It's like, why? And
Disrespectful.
I started thinking that there was something wrong with me. I'm like, why are they doing this? And then it's like, oh, because it's for other reasons, such as losing followers or getting other girls or whatever. It's like, get rid of that shit. I don't
Hmm.
want that. Like, if you're not, I don't need you to show me off, but also be proud of who you're with. Like,
Yeah.
you're a team, you're
Yeah,
growing.
you're not saying put me all over,
Yeah.
but don't hide me.
Yeah. I'm not saying to, yeah, post me all over your social media. I don't need that, but don't avoid it. Don't avoid liking my photos. Don't avoid posting a story that I tagged
So
in,
obvious.
but you'll
Yeah.
repost all the other girls that are
That's
tagged.
so shady. And that
Like,
I'll be like, nah, I don't need this kind of stress in my life. And
no,
and I think that happened with me and Nick because obviously I was so fresh out of the relationship, but also he had been through like obviously he had relationships
patience
before.
very different,
Oh,
I feel, because
yeah.
like
But like
Nick,
that's what I'm
a
saying.
lot
Like
of negative.
know when to speak up and know when it's really like better to keep private. But I
Yeah,
think that's where communication comes into play. Like you either get your point across how you feel about whatever thing they're doing or they're not doing, in this case, hiding you, express yourself. Tell me
yeah,
why. And if you can't give me an answer, then I know you're full of shit. And then I need to walk away like right
yeah.
about now.
Well, you and Nick were still figuring everything out, like he
Yeah.
lived somewhere else. It was kind of, you guys weren't hiding each other, but it was kind of like just better that way
Private.
for
So,
yourself. Because that's the
because
other thing too. If you just genuinely, both of you want to be private and you both have a mutual agreement that like, hey, this might start problems. And like, you don't want to say, oh, you guys are together and then, it not working out. And
yeah, because
then
he went through that.
happening.
He was with
Yeah.
this girl, was all over. I still make fun of him for the fact that he had her on her bio on his bio. I was like, but hey, no shame in his game, or like I'm not okay, maybe I am a little bit, but who does that? In the first month, he always gets mad when I say that. But again, like you learn, and he learns that it's okay to keep things private until you know it's a for sure thing, because then you can share that with who, like your followers, your
Yeah.
audience, right? but then we were also scared that because people always have an opinion that was going to affect us, and that the external world kind of get in what we were building at that point, especially because it was rocky at points, that we didn't need more.
Well,
to
and I feel like
add.
he gets like a lot of positive, obviously, but there's
Yeah.
always someone to say something
Oh
on
yeah.
his post. Like, for example, look at one of his posts versus mine. I get barely any negative comments unless
Yeah.
someone puts one comment, but Nick will get like
So many.
20, and
If he
because I might have to
breathes
say,
hard,
right? So,
they're like, you're about to drop dead because you're about to heart
yeah,
attack.
see, like,
And it's like the
no,
worst kind of comment. And that really can affect a person. Like, he's grown some thick skin,
yeah,
but again, like I still get the comments, and it's people taking time out of the day, which is crazy to me. Like, they take time to DM me, not just to comment. I've had to block several accounts that come from his account, and I've had to ask him, please, can you just block them? Like, I don't want their comments just coming up on your pictures, because it was disrespectful to me, to his mother sometimes. And it's just like, why do people do this? And people are like, yeah, just wait until you're done being successful as a bodybuilder, she's gonna walk, or things like that. And it's like,
yeah.
or they come to my page and they're like, enjoy him while you can because he's gonna die real soon. It's just things that really,
That's just
sometimes
unnecessary and
that's what
just,
makes you kind of stop yourself from sharing. And then you have the good people telling you to share, and you want to share. And that was the thing that I was concerned about this podcast, is like, sharing more is like allowing people to see more of you, and it makes you more vulnerable. But then again, you need to know that there's more positives than negatives, and you just need to know how to deal with the negatives or block them out. In this case, you have the power to block people on social media.
yeah.
So, and I think social media is ruining a lot of relationships nowadays, because a
Oh, for
simple
sure.
DM,
All
you
of
can,
those, like dating apps and stuff like that, like sketchy things,
a like on a
Mm,
picture
yeah.
can destroy a relationship.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
it's
or a
insane.
follow or whatever. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And
And it all
yeah,
comes down to communicating. Again, there are ways to approach a situation. Like, let's say your man likes a picture of a girl, or like it's an ass picture. You should like, if it's bugging you, if it's like not letting you sleep at night, you should probably bring it up to him in a
I
way
agree.
where you approach it like,
Yeah, the approach is everything.
yeah, in a peaceful way, not in a confronting way from the start, because that's only going to end in an argument. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you this because I've learned it. And I have like zero filter. I don't know how to sugarcoat things sometimes, because English is my second language as well. I tend to just say things how they are without adding like fluff to it that will make
Yeah.
it sound a little more like, oh, you're not looking for an argument, you're actually having a conversation. So the tone has a lot to do, your body language, your expressions. And that is something that I'm still working on, because people call me, that's why he gave me this cup, spicy. But he's like, it's in my blood to just be like straightforward. So I'm kind of having to like shift that in order to make my relationship better.
Yeah.
Not only with him, with my mother, because my mother sometimes too, like, she's like, you need to stop with the attitude. And
Yeah.
it's just no communication, but
So
know
that's great though,
how
because
to
you
approach it.
say that. The only time that I think you've given me attitude was one time, And
Well,
that was
when
at that was at the Toronto Pro we were both competing.
we
And
said
I
you were
was like,
drinking water.
no,
Okay, I hate that really. If you guys know, my biggest pet peeve is gulping, slurping,
I
and
can't
loud
swallow
chewing.
I can't swallow quietly. That's also my issue when I talk
This
to the guy because I'm like,
this
because I just
girl,
I
she
like
gulps so freaking loud. And like, we were sharing the room,
I
and she's
just
like,
can't.
I have to drink a shaker. Sorry, she will go to the bathroom. I could still hear it, but I'm like, you don't have to wait.
No, it wasn't that though. You were so grumpy because you were starving. It was so I understood why you're being grumpy, but I was talking about the protocol that or my food or whatever that I had to eat next. And I was like, oh, like I have to eat this much. And you're like, I don't care how much you have to eat right now. I don't want to think about it. I'm focusing on myself in the elevator. And I was like,
I don't even
we need to
remember.
get upstairs. We need to get our bags upstairs because we couldn't find that like trolley thing. And I was like, okay.
I actually
That's like
can't even
when you're-
remember that.
you have a little bun. You have your one bag with your big long shirt on with your, and you're just standing there, you're like ready to get out of the elevator. You're
Oh
so
God.
small, you're just like a little like spice, like
No
yeah.
one takes me
It's so
serious
funny.
when I get mad. And it's
Pardon?
just because no one takes me serious because my
But I was
accent
so
comes out
thrown off because you've
stronger.
never talked to me that before, but I knew because you were hungry, you weren't mad at me.
No, but yeah, I guess I was just like less aware of how I was
Yeah, you
speaking
were
to
just
you.
hungry. You were just like, I don't want to hear about it. And I was like,
Yeah, because you were
okay.
like,
I think because
follow
you told
me.
me what you were doing. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll tell her what I'm doing. And I did, and you're like, I don't want to hear it. I'm like, okay.
You always end up eating more, but I was just hungry. Yeah, like that was not me
Yeah.
speaking. That was
Oh no, I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't. That's the only time he's gotten like that's the bit. You always say how spicy you are in situations and stuff, but I haven't ever really experienced that. Like I feel like we like I
yeah,
don't know.
no, unless you
It's
do me
just like
wrong.
we haven't really fought ever.
You
Oh,
also know me.
one
Like
time we fought.
if I told you straight up, you wouldn't take it personal because
No,
you
that's the
knew it
thing.
was from like from the bottom of my heart. I had the best intentions, whatever I was telling you. So
Yeah, no, and I never took offense to it. I was more so laughing because I'm like, she's so hungry. I didn't take offense at
yeah,
all. I didn't find it
good
rude or
times.
anything.
I miss it. I miss those good
I
times.
know.
Like
Yeah.
crazy how you like they just pass by so quick and then now we're like just looking back and you kind of miss it.
Yeah. Well,
But
thinking of relationships too, like I feel like our relationship is really good too. And you also know, like Maria and I don't really talk like every single day or anything.
no.
But when you know that you're good in a relationship with like a friendship, if you don't need to talk to each other every single day, all day, and then you can talk, you don't need to talk to each other for 2 weeks. Then we talk to each other. It's like you just talked an hour ago. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
With you and I, sometimes we've gone like a few weeks without even talking, and or we'll check in being like, hey, how are
Oh
you?
no, you will
Good.
reply to my text like 2 weeks
Or
later.
like, yeah.
You're like, oh, sorry, I didn't see this. I'm like, cool. I could have literally
Like today,
broken a
sorry, I've had
leg.
such a busy day.
I could be dead in my apartment for like when I lived in Canada. I could be dead in my apartment or like broken a leg and I couldn't get to help. She would probably realize like 2 days later. She'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Are you okay?"
I know. I know.
No, but she's a
But we
good
know our
friend.
relationship is strong though,
Yeah.
because we have that relationship. And
Mhm.
there's been, friendships in the past too. People just grow apart, like speaking
Yeah.
of relationships. And I've kind of felt bad in some of my previous friendships because I feel like sometimes I've just distanced myself from some of my friends, and
Mhm.
it really had nothing to do with them or something that they did. I just genuinely felt like I couldn't always talk to them about the same things, or I feel like there just wasn't a connection there anymore in that friendship way. Some people from high school tried to hang out with me like later on. Actually, two people that I met up with later on, it was nice, sometimes it actually works out. But there's
Mhm.
a few people, even in university, that, we've met up a couple times, and then we're kind of like, what, the connection really isn't there anymore. So just don't reach out to each other anymore. Or
Yeah.
I've been guilty for people keep messaging me wanting to hang out, and I just genuinely just don't want
Can't.
to.
No.
I just don't feel like it. And I feel guilty about it, and they've done nothing wrong, and I'll catch up with that person. But I just don't see the point in hanging out with someone that, you feel like the relationship isn't going anywhere, and I feel bad saying that, even though if they're a great person, nothing's wrong with them. I just don't see myself fitting back in with that type of relationship. And that's not a wrong thing. And I had to quickly realize that because I felt so guilty for it.
Mhm.
If you don't connect with someone,
There's
doesn't
nothing wrong
mean
with
you
it.
hang out with them.
No. There's nothing wrong with like taking care of who you share your energy with, who you
Yeah.
vibe with. There's like absolutely nothing wrong with that, especially time. Like when you invest time in someone, again, like we said, it's because you really like care about them. It doesn't mean that you don't like someone if you don't make time for them, but it's just not at the top of your priorities because again, you don't want to fully invest yourself in that just because you don't align. Like if you don't align, you can't force anything. And I think that's where people take it too personal nowadays. And it's like, move on with your life.
Yeah.
Like, look for another friend.
Yeah.
I'm
'Cause
kidding.
I
That sounds
have
really bad, but I
No,
can't.
but it's not. It's just you grew apart, and there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. And
no.
maybe there was a falling out. Like I had a falling out with one of my friends, and it ended up, resolving. And sometimes you just can't go back to that, because honestly, if something's broken in a relationship and something goes south, sometimes you just can't look at that person the same way anymore, and you can't accept what happened, and you just need to tell yourself just to walk away. Like, don't
You literally can't force
any
like
relationship, whether
it's,
it's a friendship, an intimate relationship, it's very hard to force something,
especially if you're like
but
1,000% genuine, like zero filter. You
yeah,
cannot fake, because nowadays that's another thing. It's like,
yeah,
are people fake or are they being real?
yeah.
I can
But
smell BS and I can put up with it for a bit, but then there'll be a point where I'm like, okay, now you're too much, and then I would
yeah,
just distance myself, like gradually, without cutting you off right away, unless you say something to me that I will straight up tell you I didn't like. Then you know that we're done, right? So
yeah. Well, I feel like with family relationships versus friendships, it is very different. Like
oh
family,
yeah,
family is everything. They're
you
going to
can't
be
get
in
rid of
your life
family.
forever. You got to figure it out, whatever issues
Yeah.
are there. I
Hmm.
mean, there is situations that, hey, like you genuinely, I've heard of situations where it's like, yeah, like you can't talk to that person anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, for example, like my twin sister and my older sister, I have two sisters. My twin sister and I, that relationship there, it is a bond that honestly, like when people say that twins apparently have a different bond, like a brother and sister, or two
Yeah, you
sisters, or
guys are like connected at all times. Is that true?
it is in not like connected, like, but
Like connected, like not as in like you feel what she feels, but in
yeah.
a sense you kind of, it's a
Oh,
different level of connection.
yeah, and it's hard to explain a connection that you feel with a twin. And I'm being legitimate. This is actually a thing. I've been with her since my mom gave
Yeah, in
birth.
the womb.
I
Yeah.
came out 19 minutes later. Like, we've been like this when we were little. We were super young. Before we could really speak, we had our own language. So we would speak. It sounded like just
Gibberish.
nothing. Yeah, gibberish. And we would talk to each other, and then we would go do it together. And like we were inseparable. I think the first time that we spent more than 24 hours away from each other was when I was 15, because ever since from I was born, so I was 15, I went to a cottage. I had major anxiety. I was like, this is not happening. But I went up with my boyfriend. She stayed back, and it was, yeah, we
But
were
then again, like you
inseparable.
had to like find yourself without her, because
Yeah,
realistically speaking, your life is not always going to be like with
but
her, right?
it was like we were always in the same class, and like, because we were in the same grade and everything, but we were very different. Like after high school, when we went to university, when I started prepping, and then now she's doing all of her modeling stuff, we're very
Mhm.
different people, but we're like
So
this.
different.
I live on my own. She lives not with me anymore. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We have months where we spend a lot of time together, months where we don't, and we're completely fine. Just like I was saying earlier, you can separate yourself and then come back, and it's like no time
Yeah.
has passed. But yeah, no, we just have a very strong relationship, which I'm very grateful for. And also I do with my older sister too.
Yeah.
Hated that
It's always a different relationship. Like I
yeah,
don't have sisters, I have two brothers.
yeah.
They're
I
both
wish I had a
very
brother a little
different.
bit to make me a little bit more,
Now you're good. All they do is complain how much you get because you're the girl and they don't get as much. And then they just kind of judge you, but then they also take care of you like in their own way to take care of you. And both my brothers are like that. They're like very like tough, but then they show you love
I have the
somehow,
soft
but
spot. Yeah.
not in the regular ways that sisters would.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to
My
Maddie
sisters are
if
like
you're listening to this.
fighting over makeup, over clothes. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God. That's one of the reasons I moved out. I'm like, I gotta get this all out of here. I was the first one to move
Maddie
out.
used to make me that banana bread again.
Oh, I know.
She makes the best banana bread.
Yeah,
If
yeah, she
if
does.
modeling doesn't go her way, she needs to open up her own
She's
banana bread
creative.
business.
Imagine her cooking in the back. Do you know Madison?
No, 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 no. She needs help to clean up after, because this girl the kitchen when she cooks looks like there was a tornado
Oh
that
yeah.
passed by or some earthquake happened.
Yeah. See, she
No,
has her own little personality. You know what I
I love
mean?
her.
Like, we're
Yeah, you guys
so
are so
different,
different.
but we're
So different.
so connected. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And,
Yeah.
and I love it because I get to have you both as friends. Obviously, I'm closer with you, but it's like I get the things that I don't get with you. I get with Maddie. And like
Yeah.
Maddie's just you can't help but laugh, and
Sure.
not in a way that you're making fun of her, but it's
Yeah.
just she's
So,
so awesome.
yeah,
There's
I
no
know.
other way to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get what you mean. I know I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah, but with family relationships, you have to work through them. And at the end of the day, even if you don't talk, I feel like you will
you will
always be
eventually,
family.
and you will eventually probably talk to that person,
Yeah.
you'll
So
cross paths at one point.
yeah. So obviously, I want to ask you, what's your like love language? Just I think there's 5, right?
Yeah.
There's like physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation. What else? I can't remember.
Like, it's probably, what is the second thing you said? Like it's the little things.
Acts of service.
Yeah. Like
When they
just
do things for you, that means to you more than them giving you a purse or
yeah. Like
physical
when you
touch.
say little, yeah, I wouldn't say physical touch is the first thing, definitely the second. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those little gestures that they do, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of my, it means a lot to me,
Mm-hmm.
those little things.
That's how they get you.
Whether it's how was your workout? Oh, like I know that you like this vitamin water. Here you go when they come over to my house, or like just little things like if they're at, you know, somewhere and they think that I would like something and send me a photo, or like, or
Or they bring you something,
remember
even though
one
you
time,
didn't ask. Even
yeah,
if
or
you didn't
like,
like it, you're like, oh, they thought of me when they were
yeah,
there.
or my almond butter one time was not in stock.
Mm-hmm.
And they sent me a photo of like, oh, it's back in stock, but like he wasn't even near me, and like I knew that I could just go get it. Do you know what I mean? Like just those
Mm-hmm.
little things that they think about. It's like, oh, or oh, this new Starbucks drink, like you think you would like it, or like whatever, just those little gestures,
Yeah. Same for
or
me, like acts of service. And like for me, it's like very like physical touch is like key, but then your partner could have total different love languages. Like for example, Nick is not so much of, physical touch. Like he is to a certain degree, but not the way that you're like you rub their head a certain way, or like it's like to caress you or pat your back, things like that.
yeah, maybe physical touch is one of my first because I like those little things, I don't know. But
It's
yeah, no,
it's
it's
like
it's hard
it's
to,
never just one. I think it's a
I think it's,
combination.
yeah, and I think it's important to realize that with yourself and your partner,
Partner
because
or
you
you're
need
lacking.
to, yeah, and you need to give that too. Like my past relationship, obviously, I think that there was some differences there, and it was hard for me to, like my actual relationship, it was very hard for me to give that because I didn't
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
why they need the like that reassurance or whatever, because I feel like I didn't. But then over time I was like, okay, and it just, there's just little gestures that you can do or little things that you can say that just makes them so happy and makes them
Hmm.
more secure, and doesn't take that much time. And if you know what to say and you mean that, then you should just do it because it'll change a lot positive,
Yeah,
like
the dynamic changes a lot because
yeah,
you could think we talked about it because I was like, I asked him and then he's like, yeah, acts of service. But then I was like, I'm very big on physical touch as well. And he's like, yeah, I'm not so much. Like he doesn't like cuddling. Obviously he's size, he's hot all the time. Probably doesn't enjoy that too. But it's just like all about communicating, because if he doesn't want to hug me and we're like, for example, we don't cuddle at all during the night. Like if I do, I will come to him from back, but as soon he'll start sweating within the first 5 minutes, I'll just go back to my
yeah.
my side of the bed.
But you probably maybe thought in the beginning, oh my God, he doesn't
There
want
was
to hug me, he
something,
doesn't
yeah,
like me, because that's my way of showing someone that's why
yeah,
I'm hugging that person.
and then communicating that
Yeah.
fills the gaps. Whereas like, okay, there's nothing wrong with him or me. It's just the way we are, and we need to come to terms that it works for me, and he may have like a little attention on that end to take care of me, but I also know that it's not his, so I
Yeah.
should not expect it, but
Exactly.
focus like on what he likes, which is like acts of
Yeah.
service, words of affirmation, stuff like that. So,
Yeah. And it's not because
so
he doesn't like you is why he's not doing it. Just he doesn't think that that's important. But then,
yeah,
you know what I mean? You just have to realize that. Yeah.
if you're not able to have these conversations with your partner, then there is a level of intimacy of that's lacking, and then you need to know that that's not the person for you, or maybe you guys are not at that level or time in life where you guys can give each other the best version of you. And not always you have to be fully the best version of you, but you can develop that version with your partner, as long as you guys bring attention to the actual areas that are lacking, so you can both work on it as a team and also individually. Because I think, again, you have to have a level of ownership to everything that you do and everything that you lack, so the other person knows how to help you. Because that's another thing, if you don't know how to help yourself or don't want to help yourself, your partner can have all the willingness to actually help you, but if you don't know how to help yourself or want to be helped, then your partner is going to be just as lost as you are. So you need to figure it out yourself from within, communicate that, and then work as a team, work yourself on the areas that you know that yourself, you're the only one who can fix that. Because we have said it with Nick, we're like, well, there is a point where I don't know what else to do for you to improve in this area. So that's on you, or if I react a certain way, I know it's not on him and nothing that he did, but more so the way that I approached it.
Yeah.
So ownership to everything that you do. And I think if they don't take ownership, then call them out on their bullshit too. So I think that's how you grow as a couple.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Nowadays, because me being one of them, you're in a relationship, but like how is the best way to even meet someone? I feel like it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Nowadays with, social media and, a lot of people just working from home, not a lot of people even really going out anymore, or like, what do you think is the best way to meet someone nowadays? And like, is social media bad to meet someone through? Is it bad to meet someone through social media because stuff is so fake and can be interpreted very differently, Like, what do you?
Okay, so Nick and I started talking because of social media. Like, it was as simple as a DM. And it's up to you to let that person approach you and to give yourself the chance to get to know them. So I'm not going to say like social media is the best place, because again, it's just plagued with either catfish. You don't know when they're being real, when they're being fake. You cannot sense that through a screen. So just know who you're talking to, or give yourself the chance to be a little skeptical at first. So I will say though, in our case, there has to be some type of, I feel like not in just our case, like fitness, it relates to everything. If you are a lawyer or a doctor, you need to be with someone just as busy as you, because if the person is like, let's say, a full-time work from home person, you're never going to see your partner. And that person's going to feel either like they're alone and they're not with anyone. So you need to have that agreement and kind of association and just the ways that you can relate to that person on every level, whether it's like career-wise, the way you are, or your interests outside of your career, like hobbies and all that stuff. Because if you don't have something to relate to as a couple, then I don't think it's going to work. So for us, in this case, I'm not going to say a gym setting is like the best place to pick up someone. It could be a legit, genuine connection could come out of it. So I wouldn't say stop yourself from, unless you're a creep, then you know that that's a no-go. So for us, a club is not going to be the place where we meet someone. We're like, oh, yeah, this is the person I'm going to be like talking to, and something's going to grow out of it. Because let's be realistic.
The last person.
So exactly.
Look at that.
So you know that
you say that, yes, but yeah, like my situation didn't work out. I feel like I've heard a lot of stories where it might just happen randomly and some people think it's fate. You know what I mean?
No,
so
yeah.
I feel like actually I asked you that question, but I feel like there actually isn't a proper answer.
No, there isn't. That's why I said like, but it just has to be, there's no right place. Yeah. It could be at the grocery store for all we know. Right? He's buying his 10 pounds of chicken.
I guess my question was, do you think social media is a great way to meet someone online? I mean, obviously you would say yes, because look at yourself right now. You know
it gives you, I just think it gives you
how did
a
it feel
wider,
like, what did you, were you skeptical? Did you
Yes.
feel like a little bit off? Do you not know what to do? Did you go into it thinking that maybe it wouldn't turn out? Or like, did you go into it thinking this is, love my
No.
life, like.
No. So first of all, Nick was not the guy who I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna date you. First of all, because I was so not open to dating bodybuilders.
Yeah.
One. So all odds were against us at that point because I was like, no. And then two, I was just out of a relationship. I didn't know whether that was a good idea or not, or if I was emotionally available to go for it. Three, I didn't know if I had watched some podcasts about him where he was on the podcast and I would see how he will interact and the things he would talk about. And I was like, no, he's arrogant. He treats women, speaks about women a certain like vulgar way. I'm like, I'm not about that. Okay. But you also have to realize, and then this is what I realized once I started talking to him and I kind of got to know him. I didn't completely just close the idea of letting him in, but it was more so giving him a chance to give me the real him, because you also have to understand that him being the person he is, he has to show the entertaining part of him, and he also has to cater to his audience. It's not like he's putting up an act, but he's so more making it fun. And unfortunately, being a little like vulgar with guys and kicking it with like in a podcast with a bunch of guys, you guys are obviously going to talk about ass and how you like tits and ass and stuff like that,
That's like any relationship though, like him being in a relationship versus maybe him around his friends, or him being in a relationship versus someone else, anybody else. Your relationship, I feel like, is so different than, because there's a lot more that has to be put into it. And
so much more.
There's
so much more to Nick that people don't see. They see this arrogant, confident guy, and he's like,
when he was at the gym, he's like,
he's a teddy bear.
Yeah, that's what I always say, is that bodybuilders are big teddy bears. Like you think that they're all like.
And Nick always wants to help. He's so,
Yeah.
I thought he was arrogant again, because of that one time that I sat next to him in the audience at the Olympia 2020, where he didn't acknowledge that he was taking my space, and he didn't apologize. He was just, I'm big, I'm going to take up half your seat. He didn't acknowledge. But apparently that day he's like, he put an eye on me. Like, obviously I was taken at that point. So he didn't try it until a year later. But
that's like, even from the gym, like Antoine and Quentin, they like, when you talk to them, you think that they're like so big.
They're so intimidating.
They're just have their smile. Hey, how are you? And it's like,
they're so nice. They're like always willing to talk. They're
always like
willing
wanting
to give
to
you time
like,
of day.
Yeah, exactly. Like
so completely opposite to what you think.
Oh yeah. And like everyone's sometimes intimidated to like be around big bodybuilders or whatever, but they're all regular ass people. Like, what I mean? It's
they're
like,
big teddy bears.
They all have hearts, they're not heartless.
And that's the thing. Like it was like everything was working against us. And then I was like, well, he sent me a DM. How many other girls have gotten DMs from him? So that was my first thought, right? But then I also have to realize, okay, what kind of girl am I? And what's my self-validation in this case? Like, I'm better than all these girls he maybe has been having conversations with. So you also have to know, right, what you bring to the table. So, and then you have to roll with it. It's not like you're out to compete.
You've seen bodybuilders, like some bodybuilders go and like try to get with every single girl. Like when I would sometimes send you, oh, this person's liking all my shit. And he's like, he's been around. Don't go.
Or he has a girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or he
has a girlfriend posted on their page, and then they send you a DM. I'm like,
yeah, this guy, I kind of messaged first, not like he's works out and stuff, whatever. I was messaging him and stuff. Great conversation. I so cute, into the same things. And
he has a girlfriend.
Girlfriend posts a lot of him, but he posts very little of her, because I was investigating. I'm a female. I want to see what the hell is going on here. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this guy's cute. This guy's like, whatever. So my type. And I go on, I'm like, he's got to have a girlfriend. Let me go on to the tags. I just did all a little investigating. What do I
don't mess with a girl. We know how to find things out.
Oh, if anybody asks me, I don't know her Instagram.
You're
ask
like,
I will find it.
I
will
want to
be
become
it's so easy
CIA.
though. Yeah, it's so easy. But see, it's weird that I'm like that. That's the other thing is that I am very, very, very protective of my friends and their relationships.
Mhm,
Very protective, you know that. And
mhm.
I just say how it is. And I'm like, listen, this is what's going on. You got to get the hell out. Or
Yeah, you're like, when I didn't like Nick, you didn't like Nick. You're like,
yeah,
I
no. Yeah,
followed
if you don't
him.
like him, I
I
don't
was
like
like,
him. Do you love him? I love him. But well,
oh my
sometimes.
God.
But
You're like,
but yeah, that's the thing. But if I was in a relationship and that guy, you know, liked girls' photos or whatever, I don't care. Okay, I would care if it was
it depends on the scenario.
like their ex-girlfriend, they're liking all their shit.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
fucked
Yeah.
up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But yeah, so it just depends. But if it's like some random girl, I'm just like, whatever.
If it's girls he
I
works with,
want
like
a photo
on
too.
the same team, like I wouldn't be like, "Oh, you're liking this girl's team, like this girl's
Yeah.
pictures. She's in our team. Do you
Like,
guys have
well,
anything?" No.
before I got my boobs done, I sent my boyfriend at the time all photos of different girls' tits, and I'm just like, he's like, oh, she looks good. This,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I
What do
don't
you
care,
like?
you know what I mean?
What do you think looks
Yeah,
good?
actually, we ended literally the
Right.
week that
There
I
you
got
go.
my boobs done, so he never saw them.
You never got to like test
Oh,
run.
he's so pissed. He was so and then I moved out right after that. I was like, see ya.
They're like, should I
Um,
look?
when
But
but with relationships to yourself, I want to say, I feel like there's two areas of my life where I feel like I really became independent, and that was one. Sorry, can you hear all that noise? That was one when I moved to university, because that was when I first started my first prep and I learned how to be on my own. That's when
mhm,
you're forced to do your laundry, you're forced to wash dishes, you're forced to do everything. I did all that stuff like at home, but my mom helped did like half of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
like you really realize what the hell it's like to be by yourself. And I was in a room by myself prepping with a mini fridge and a plug-in cooler that I always got food poisoning from because I was an idiot. And I would just be by myself.
If you know
And
anything about bread, there's always something going on, whether it's like an illness, an ache, or some sort of
but
inconvenience in her
now
life. And it's like a whole of
some rash, like
every time we'll call her, Maria, this thing appeared today. And yesterday was something different. And I'll be like, dude, do you ever get a break? Like, you need to just put yourself in a bubble? Like,
I
literally,
know
that's what I would be thinking
always.
every time you told me something new.
And you know what? It's funny because I've heard that from multiple new people that I meet. There's always something wrong with you. I'm like,
Thanks. That's a
but
really
you
good
know, what I was
compliment.
saying was in university, I feel like you're really matured and then like, or not matured, but like knew how to be independent. And then, so I guess matured. And I feel like everyone does when they go to university. And then it was,
Mhm.
when I moved out on my own, that's when it like really hit. And then I got my own dog and like just to be independent. Cause I went from in high school, I always had a relationship and even in university too. And then when I moved out by myself and I've just been single, like I've just been like, you know, so happy by myself. And that's not me saying I love to be single because I want to get with all these guys, you know what
No,
I
you
mean?
just learn how to be alone.
Nobody talks to me. That's my problem, I think. Like nobody, I don't know.
I think
But
sometimes you can come off as really intimidating. So when you're too
hey,
confident in
everybody says
yourself,
that.
you can come off as very like intimidating, and then people have an issue approaching you because you become unapproachable in this case. But then and that's the thing, only the right person will be able to get through that,
Yeah.
because I feel like the same thing happened to me, and
Well,
there
if
were
someone's intimidated, that means that they are not confident in themselves. And
no.
then no confidence brings insecurity.
So it's
So
like
I
you
would want
adding
that
that
person.
wall, that if that person cannot handle that or get like the balls to kind of approach it, then you know it's not it. So
Yeah.
it kind of will take the right person with the right character to approach you. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You don't need to
Yeah.
be smiley and just like be like, no, you don't need to change yourself. But once you start talking to someone that actually is worth your time, then you know how to be a little more open, perhaps, and then talk as if like, okay, this is me, I'm confident, but doesn't mean that I'm unapproachable. That person will understand that right away.
Yeah.
So
Well, and definitely too, like I feel like I'm talking as if like in a relationship, I'm just like, yeah, like I'm confident if anyone screws me over, see you later right away. Which yes, I am like that a bit. And I think that does trigger from my other relationships. But
Mhm.
also like the last person I talked to, like I feel like you can get manipulated so easily into thinking something because when you like somebody, it's very, very,
Yeah.
very simple to see past
It
it.
become
And the
it
thing is
becomes
that
clouded what you think of
yes.
yourself.
And also if there was, this is how long your relationship was, okay? And there was this much good, but this much bad, it's
Mhm.
like you hold on to those good things because you don't want to think about those bad things. And you don't acknowledge all the bad things that happened. And you just remember how you felt in the moment when like you felt great in that relationship. You know what I mean? And you
Mhm.
ignore everything else, which makes you hold on to that person. And it's so toxic. And I've been through that so many times because then when you reflect and when the cons weigh out the pros, it's time to like reevaluate the whole
Yeah.
situation, either change something, communicate with that person, or you just have to leave, and leaving is so hard. It's almost
And I think that's what
in
we
my
want to save ourselves of,
well, it's
the
almost
the
easier when
heartbreak.
someone cheats on you than you leaving somebody
Yeah.
almost, because there's a reason to leave that person.
Yeah.
I was in a position too when I wanted to leave my ex, and I was just like, can you just cheat on me? It'd be so much easier just to walk away,
Do
which sounds
something.
awful. Yeah,
So
it's
I'm
like
not the bad guy.
bad, so I can just leave.
Yeah.
And that's when I really realized, like, oh my God. And, I was prepping at points when I was in a relationship. So I'm like, that's why I don't want to do anything with him.
Mhm.
That's why I don't want to see him because I'm down. But then when, my estrogen, everything was like back to normal and stuff, my drive still wasn't there for that person. And I felt like
Yeah.
doing it just because, or like I felt
Like
like I was talking to him just
to
because.
please. Yeah.
Yeah. And there
So you
was
were
no.
trying to like still deliver while still not being fully there for you.
Yeah, because I didn't know why I felt that way. And it was just at the end of the day, we both just agreed we just fell out of love with each other. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And there was nothing to a relationship anymore. He wanted other things, like, and I'm totally fine with someone not really liking my lifestyle. If you don't like it and you can't look past that with me, and you just look at my lifestyle or whatever, and you don't like it and you want to be able to go for dinners with me like every single weekend or whatever. I always told, like, even the last person I talked to him, like, if you don't like it, just tell me and just remove yourself right away, because I was in a toxic place before where it was like we were trying to battle it out because we were trying to
Mhm.
like each other. But if you don't like someone in something, or if you don't like something in someone, just tell them. And that's like a lot about competing. If you
Or
don't
take the
like
time to
that
understand.
lifestyle, yeah. And if you don't like it, just tell that person. And I feel like I'm at the point where if that previous person just told me that, it would be so much easier for me to just to understand, be like, okay, see you later, because I've been through that and I don't want someone who doesn't support me in something that I love,
Yeah.
That's the thing is changing, you can grow with people and change things, maybe like your viewpoints and stuff. Like I know in relationships, like even seeing my sister, she's changed a lot of her views on things in life, and in a lot of positive ways, because like you're in a relationship and you grow together. I believe that that's great. But when you start to realize that you change yourself and you change, your goals for another person, that's when it becomes an issue. Like
Yeah. Because
me
you're
going out
changing your
every
whole
single
being.
weekend. Yeah.
Mhm.
And me going out every single weekend with this guy I used to talk to, and like me, oh, I'll take another rest day from the gym, things that I caught myself doing. And it
Mhm.
was almost good that this guy like ghosted me, because then I realized I didn't even want to be doing that. I was taking away from myself. And like I realized
For
so much
him.
myself that I did for him. And
Mhm.
I think though I was doing more than I actually wanted to, because I wasn't getting it back. So I was like chasing it. If I give more and more and more,
And you
I'm gonna
were
get
hopeful.
more.
I feel like you had the hope that at
Yeah.
some point he was going to realize, okay, it's time for me to take time to understand her world. But the
Yeah.
fact that he didn't even take the time, then that made you realize, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm better off without you. It's good that you kind of did me dirty. So now I can realize exactly what I don't want and exactly what I should be kind of snap out of if next time that comes around again.
Well, I
So
think also in the beginning of a relationship too, when you talk to somebody, if you set a standard that you do like right from the beginning, you do everything for this person, you do their laundry, you do their dishes, you go grocery
they get
shopping,
used to it.
you do everything, they're going to expect it. So
Yeah.
then if your values and everything, if you're okay with them doing certain things,
Mhm.
they are attracted to you because of how you were acting in the beginning. If you change it later on and you don't want to do any of that stuff anymore, they're going to be like, well, what the hell? Like, this is the person that I liked in the beginning, and now you're changing. So now I don't have as much attraction towards you. You know what I mean?
And it's going to completely
it's going to
change the
destroy it.
dynamic.
Yeah, the dynamic is ruined, so I feel like that's super important in the beginning, is try not to push it too much, where like, that's another thing. One more thing I want to
Try
say.
not to give too much
Yeah.
from the get-go.
Yes. And I guess that could be like moving too fast, but also if you're both like in it, you guys will both kind of do it. So it's okay. But some mistakes that I've made in the past too is when I sometimes am giving and giving, it might scare that person a little bit and they'll start to pull away, but it shouldn't if they really like you. So I've done that, but then I start giving more and more and more because I'm trying to find them to give it back to me. And then I realize that I'm just like doing extra things all the time and they're actually backing away, which makes me chase even harder, because it's like, I'm trying to do all these things for you and like you're not acknowledging it, you know what I mean? And then it ends up just me just taking over and like me being out of control and just doing all these unnecessary things to try to show a man that I like him. And it's like, then you sit back and realize, and you're like, why the hell am I trying to prove so much to this person when they're not giving me shit?
I think you have to let it happen
Naturally.
in a
and
way,
just,
naturally. And if it's
and
not, then it's not
yeah,
it's not going to happen if it's not
putting
happening from the start.
way more in the basket. Like if you're putting
Yeah.
way more in than they are, it's like, okay, you got to take a step back and reevaluate everything, especially when it's like right from the beginning.
But sometimes, like, you have to realize that some people may be scared. Like, for example, I feel like Nick was very like he was very protective of himself, his world, his career, and everything. And even with a girl, like, he wouldn't want a girl to come and like interrupt that flow that he had with his life. So even though he liked me, he was very like, he will stop himself from like doing a lot of things that were not in his comfort zone or were not a part of his routine. So I think you also have to give them that space to realize that it's okay to start giving back when you're giving so much.
Yes.
But then that's where you have to have sometimes the talks where it's like, okay, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. Do we wanna put all the eggs on your side as well? Because mine are here, but I'm not moving forward if that's all we're gonna do. And then you're just gonna keep all of yours, It's like, this is my life. And then we either gonna make it work or I'm taking my life elsewhere where it's gonna be appreciated.
Yeah.
And like,
well, and some people are scared to have those conversations because they're scared how the person's going to react.
yeah.
But in order for the situation to become better, you have to have those kind of difficult situations. And it's all about the approach. If you approach that situation being like, I'm giving everything, you're giving nothing, instead of just saying, hey, listen, like,
Go calm.
like,
Yeah,
I
you
want
have
you
to be calm.
reflecting on this, and this is how I'm feeling. Like, what do you think? What's your opinion? How do you think we should move forward? The approach of every situation of you trying to figure out, anything in a relationship, whether it be whatever type of relationship, it's always the approach that's going to set the tone and which direction it's going to lead into. And
it's an argument or it's an actual conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And well, if I go into the conversation calm and then someone else acts out aggressively, you almost need to not act aggressively back again, just fight fire with fire. You need to say, hey, listen, this is not the
That's
type
the
of conversation
worst.
I want to have. I'm coming into it very calmly. I want you to just give your opinion. Like, I don't want this to be a fight. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm just trying to grow in the direction where we
Have
want.
a conversation. Yeah.
So like, even if they start acting aggressive, you just have to take control and just do everything in your power.
And if they do act aggressive, and I'm telling you this because sometimes I go into fight or flight situation.
Right. Yeah.
Nick just walks away.
Yeah.
Just walk away. Because if you keep going, it's just going to end up even worse. And then words are going to come out, hurtful things are going to come out that you cannot take back. And again, once you say something, it's like putting a nail on a wall. You put the nail on the wall, but when you take the nail out and you say sorry, there's still going to be a hole in the wall. So it's just, you said that and it's going to stay in the back of their head. Because if you say, let's say, I've said it before, and it's like, I wish you never came into my life. Things like that. It's like so hurtful. And then yet you said it. And then now that person's going to be like, do they actually feel like that? Do they start to second guess? Like, do they actually have those moments where they feel like it was wrong that I came into her life or I came into his life? So
But if you say that, you obviously have, like, you need to own up to it and
exactly.
say,
And
hey,
that's another
what's
thing.
wrong with me? Yeah.
Say, don't get used to saying things and then pretending that saying a sorry is going to fix it.
Mhm.
You need to start owning up to the fact that you need to stop. Did you hear Tora?
I thought it was Russ.
Oh no,
I
it's Tora. I
hear
think it's the sound. It's very,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, like you need to start owning up to the fact that you need to not change that, but get a hold of it. So, because you cannot just say sorry every time that you say something, and it's going to be hurtful to the other person, because it's going to end up hurting you
Sorry
too.
gets old. And there's
It
only so
does,
many times
and
you
it
can
becomes
say,
meaningless at some point, and that's something that I've realized the hard way too.
well,
And
it means a lot to me when somebody like sits me down and, like, if there's an issue that they like just say, hey, I really want to work on this, or like,
mhm.
I appreciate that, because it's almost like they're looking into the relationship and they're looking at it as a long-term thing, and they know that we have to deal with some situations. So they want to just put it on the table and just realize how we're going to solve those situations. You
And
know what
that
I mean?
is a perfect line to approach a situation. Hey,
Yeah.
I would like to work on this because I feel like this is where we're lacking, or I feel like this is what's pushing us apart. Or you could say this is what's causing the
I feel
most
like
conflict in our
it's
relationship.
it's not really talked about. And, like,
No.
when when I've had problems in my relationships, I go to my friends and be like, oh, this is what he's doing. It's pissing me off. And then actually my sister yesterday, it wasn't about her relationship. It was about just a whole bunch of things that she was just so upset about. And I was like, well, you have the power to change it. So just
Mhm.
say something to this person or change that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, oh, yeah, I know, because you do have the power to change it. But like I said, a lot of people are scared to approach a situation, but it's almost, you just have to if you want it to go anywhere,
If you're scared to approach it, it's because you already are setting yourself up to approach it the wrong way.
And
So just
you're
take a
gonna-
step back, analyze what exactly you want to say, what's exactly bugging you, and then try to put that in words where it's going to be um, friendly, like a friendly approach, and not just so much a confronting way to bring up an issue, because that's the worst way to resolve an issue, because it's just going to create another issue. And then you guys are really going to be like head to head, and it's just going to be no progress whatsoever.
Yes.
So, and then another thing is like, nowadays on social media, okay, this is exactly what I want you guys to like remember. When you say couple goals, and this is another like one thing that we get a lot, couple goals, like you guys are so perfect for each other, but you guys don't see the work that we've put to make this relationship work. And then that's something that Nick and I agreed on. We're never going to put out anything if we don't feel like we're being real. And I think nowadays there's a lot of couples who just do it for the gram, and there's no better way to put it. So don't go into thinking that your relationship is any less because the couple goals that you follow look like they're picture perfect. You guys don't see the fights they go through. You guys don't see like the things they say to each other. For all we know, it's like all they're doing is posing for a picture, and then 2 seconds later they're like mad at each other. So
Yeah.
it's just, do not compare your life to other people's life that they put online, because it is definitely like not even like a quarter of the pie. It's literally like just a fraction of what they're going through in life. And do not compare yourself, your relationship,
Well, we've both
whatever.
seen like relationships that are just, we know what it is. And like,
Yeah, we've seen it behind the
lots
scenes.
of
Like
them. Oh
we've
yeah.
seen some couple goals behind the scenes. It's like, that's everything I don't want
The
in a couple.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
guys, take it from me. Like we are a couple, and some people look up to us because we've grown together as a couple, but we are not perfect by any means. Like we are not perfect. We
No
know it.
relationship is,
No. And then that's what I want to like emphasize. So you don't go home and you're like, well, why can't you be like so and so? It's like, no, you guys have your own thing. You guys are with each other for a reason. You are with that person because they're unique, and then you like them for that reason. You cannot make that person be like someone you think is better, because for all you know, he's such an ass. And then what you have at home is so much better, but you just fail to realize that you need to let that sink in and perhaps work on growing something with that person that you have, or either walking away from whatever you think is not good enough. Because if it's not good enough for you, then you're the only one who knows that. So at the end of the day, like you, with your experience, your last, you knew it was like, you deserve better than that. And you're the only one. I could tell you whatever. I could tell you that guy's red flags all around. But again, at the end of the day, you're the one who made the decision to go see him, to make efforts. And
Yeah.
you're the only one who's going to know this is not for me. Like I deserve so much better than this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And also another thing I want to say is, with physical attractions, I feel like when you meet somebody, there has to be a bit of physical attraction, like just in my opinion. But I have situations where I was never really physically attracted to them, but after I got to get to know them, it was like I found them so attractive. And then when people like might question like, oh, that's not your type, whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, it really wasn't when I first met this person, but
they grew on you.
Person that I just think that they're so cute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever. But then I've also had situations where someone I used to be with, I thought he was the hottest thing ever. I was like, oh my God, I have to. Did you know that one of my relationships, this is how crazy I am. I was in university. I went through Tinder. I got an account. I'd never had it. I went through Tinder. I scrolled for 2 months to try to find him. 2 months. I found him. I went like this. I went back because I wanted to find this person because he went to the same university. That's how crazy I was. I found him. I messaged him on Instagram. And I
was an airhead.
Cutest guy ever. I'm like, oh my God. And then, yeah, I ended up dating, whatever. But then from the things that he did to me, I found him less and less and less attractive in the relationship because of how awful some of the things was. We're fine now. I'm not saying this person's awful at all. Just our relationship just didn't work out.
Yeah.
But like, he's great now. Like, I think he's a great friend, but there are so many things that I was like, ew, this guy is like not cute
turn off.
Oh, like I'm so turned off by this person, because of some of the things that he would say or do or whatever, so it's not all about the physical attraction,
No.
And also why like some people are like, oh, would you only go for a bodybuilder? I really don't know. After my last experience, I feel like I definitely do need someone with the same interests as me.
It doesn't have to be a competitor.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
someone that works out.
Yeah,
exactly. Their body.
But I think with me, the type of person that I feel like I've really found that I like is someone who is driven in something that could be anything in life. Like I'm very driven towards like a few like specific things. And I feel like I find that very attractive in someone else. Like the last guy I talked to is very driven in what he does. I don't care how much the person makes. If you're a garbage truck driver, be the best garbage truck driver you could be.
But just be good at it.
Just like have drive towards something that is motivating to me. We can motivate each other,
Yeah. So. I think that's like perfectly put the way you say it, because obviously you could be, again, like a business owner, and then you could also care about your body. And I think that's where you guys will relate, but doesn't mean that it has to be a bodybuilder. And I just think physical attraction, while necessary, I think it's very important in my opinion. It's not the whole package, obviously, because you can have the best body, the best face, but then your personality is totally crap. Literally like the biggest turn off. If I can have a conversation with you, if I can just like talk about my future with you and you are on board with all those things that I want, then like completely, I don't care how beautiful you are, bye-bye. Right? If you get both, then lucky you. But I think personality will make you, if you don't have like 100%, like, I'm not saying ugly, but I'm gonna say your type. For example, someone you would like be like first pick out of a group because it's so your type, but it's someone that it's like okay looking, that you're gonna grow feelings for, and then that you're gonna look at them in a more like on a different level where you can have like a sexual interaction with them. Because I feel in order to have a perfect relationship, I think all areas of intimacy, and that comes like sentimental, emotional, spiritual, and obviously physical, I think there has to be some level of chemistry or attraction, because otherwise, I don't know, to me,
like, no, I agree. You have to be,
sex is very important in a relationship. I don't care what anyone says. It's not the whole thing. And I think also sex has been taken to such a level where it's just such a thing to give nowadays. I was brought up and like I don't judge anyone who decides to go and have sex with whoever, but I was kind of raised the way that if you have sex with someone, it's like they're taking a piece of you every time. It's like you give a little bit of your soul to that person. And that's why I've had like I can count them with one hand, less than one hand, literally. So it's just something I'm proud of, something that I don't think it makes you any better than anyone. However, I have a different approach. And I just think sex has been taken so lightly nowadays, where you try to like satisfy that side of your who you are. It's just like more physical and superficial, that the more deeper side of you is completely empty. And then at the end of the day, once that person is done, once you're done with your climax, like your high that you get through sex, you still feel empty. So I just think, you need to have all aspects in a relationship to feel fully whole with that person.
I agree. And no, I agree. Physical attraction is part of it for sure.
Yeah.
I just think that you can become more physically attracted to that person by their personality.
Oh yeah, if it's not your type.
Yeah.
AKA, I was not going to date a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
He's obviously not everyone's cup of tea, because some girls will find him not attractive. But I think he's hot as hell, and then I think he's fine. So that's all that matters, because it's you. You are the one who needs to like that person on different levels, right?
Right. Yeah, so I agree.
Yeah. But we
talked a lot.
Like, I guess relationships
I feel like I had a lot to say. Yeah. And I feel like both of us have been in so many, like, just different paths with relationships. I feel like similar paths in some areas of our life, but
you're also younger.
I know, but I feel like I have a lot to say, because I feel like I've been through so much, even though I'm like 23.
But that's the awesome part, that you're so young, yet you are so aware of what you've been through. And now like, that's how you grow. That's how you become wiser and better to yourself. And I think,
I'm not saying even the next relationship will be my person.
Perfect.
No. There's areas I can definitely improve, and you probably agree with yourself, and we can still, like, we're trying to figure out, the pros and cons to our relationships or whatever, but I think it just takes time. And I feel like it takes a lot of time, like I know people who are still learning things about themselves in their 40s, their 50s, whatever,
Oh yeah. I think I have so much to improve on. I'm 32. I feel like I'm 24, because that's how grown up I feel. Like, so
we're perfect in our relationships.
Yeah.
We're just saying that this is our experiences and how we feel about situations that we've been in. And
don't look for the bottom line. It's like, don't seek for external validation, because everything that you are, everything that you want to be, it's within you. And that is it's an ongoing thing that we're working on, because even for me, like, I could be 32, you could be 23 right now. We are at different levels where you decide that I'm fulfilled, you're not fulfilled, or vice versa. Like, I feel right now you're so comfortable with yourself and who you are. And that's the area I'm trying to work on, to solidify that confidence within myself, which many people will be like, you're so confident. And I am, but there is a deeper level to that, where you're just like, you require a little bit more growth. You know what I mean? So that's where we're at. And then don't feel any less anymore if you are struggling, or if you feel like you need that external validation. Just know that you have the power within you to just make yourself happy. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
Totally agree.
And anything you want to say to wrap this up?
Yeah, well, I feel like we covered a lot, but and I hope this obviously helped people with, like, if they're stuck in something in a relationship or anything. I hope hearing us, speak a little bit about our past experience helped anybody who might be stuck in the same position. Just know, there's no one that can really tell you what to do, but definitely advice that can be given that might change your mindset into doing the right thing, So I would just keep going with your gut always, in every scenario that you're in. I feel like that's always what I've gone with, and what has led me to where I am now, and feeling happy with myself. So
Even if it hurts, just remember what didn't work out for you worked out. And that's something that I would always say. It didn't work out for a reason, because your faith was different. You had to go a different way, and it's okay. At the moment, it may not seem like it, but just give yourself time and trust your gut.
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we're so excited to see you on our next one. So hope you're having a great rest of your day,
And let us
and
know what you thought or what you would like us to speak on next or anything in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe. We're going to be posting every single Tuesday as well.
yes. Okay. Well, with that being said, bye guys.
Bye.
Take care and be sure to be a boss ass.